There was this moment that we had recently, and it was just myself. You know, everybody was wrapped. We had, you know, a car, you know, was rigged up, camera was rigged onto this moving vehicle, and I was just gonna ride behind it. And it was getting to magic hour. And I'm just sitting there waiting, and I'm on this bike and taking in the wind, taking in the land. And I'm like, I'm here. This is a dream come true. And I know that one day, like any dream, you're gonna wake up. But they just said action. And I just rode out with the wind blowing in my face, and it's freedom, complete freedom. My full name is Jorge Daniel. So, you know, when I started acting, I couldn't book anything. I couldn't even get a call back. And I would go to the Latino castings, and their issue with me was that they felt like I was lying, that I must have been half white because of how I looked. And I said, no, I'm full Latino. My father's Argentinian, my mother's El Salvadorian, and you know, I didn't fit their look of what a Latino looked like. And so I would try to audition for white roles, and they just would kick me out of the room because of my name. So I kind of had nowhere to go. And once I changed the name to JD Pardo, just to use my initials, I started getting seen by everybody. I think because of my look, I never really fit the role. So I just trained, I studied, I would always study. I felt like if I could be the best actor in the room, then one day I just wasn't gonna be denied. So it's been quite a journey. I think early on, I had this awareness about me. I was probably more aware than other children were at my age. I was 15, my dad had left the house already. I was angry. I was struggling with just how to be a man, especially in the area that I was growing up in. At that time in the 80s, Panorama City started becoming more and more dangerous. You know, it's fight or flight. So my mom was very worried about me. My father too, he was a cop for over 30 years. And it was very hard. It was very hard having a dad that was a cop because he always had a temper on him. You know, we were a little bit in conflict right from the beginning. You know, he was an action tough guy, and I was just this kid that just loved to dream, loved watching movies. My mother would take us to the video stores on Friday, and we would each rent a movie. My mother would rent like Dr. Zhivago, and my sisters would rent like Ice Castles and Anne of Green Gables, and I would rent like The Karate Kid. And we'd have to flip coins to see, you know, who went first. And sometimes I was last, and I had to watch everything. Watching movies and those stories unfold, it was like I was just transported into this world where I didn't have to deal with reality. And then my imagination just grew from there. Finally, I had told my parents that I wanted to be an actor. I sort of came out of the acting closet, so to speak. You know, I was 17 and told them I wasn't going to go to school. You know, my parents wanted me to be a doctor or be a professional in that sense, which I think is kind of common with immigrants that come to this country. They want their children to be educated. They were very disappointed, but I think more so because of the odds. I just remember constantly going over Mulholland. You know, it was like the bridge between Panorama City and Hollywood, and you know, just making that trip that a lot of actors make, and the anticipation of the audition, and then the disappointment of coming back and being like, oh man, I blew that one. You know, I felt like I wanted to give up several times, but this one in particular, I had just finished the movie The Burning Plane. There was Charlize Theron and Jennifer Lawrence, and you know, it was this big movie that I was a part of. I felt like this was it, and it just didn't happen that way. I found myself unemployed for a couple of years. And I went to my mother, and I told her that I was going to quit acting and that I was just going to pursue school. She told me no. She said, you have representation now, go after it, no plan B. And that's what I did. So I found out about Mayans like anything else through my manager. She told me about Mayans, and you know, it was going to be this big thing because it was a follow-up to Sons of Anarchy. I just wanted to be a part of Kurt Sutter in this universe. The next thing I know is I get a call about Kurt Sutter coming to do a session. They really didn't kind of see me as the role at that point. but they did like me. And so I went in once for one character, came out, went in again for another character, and then that's when like Kurt just stopped it. He then said, okay, why don't you take the easy sides, go home, and come back later this afternoon and read for easy. And I told him, I was like, I can't do that because I live in like Woodland Hills. It's gonna take me an hour and a half to get there, an hour and a half to get back. So how about you just give me the sides now? I'll go outside for 45 minutes. I'll study these sides. I'll memorize them. They're like 7 or 8 pages. I'll come back inside and I'll do this for you. And he said, let's see what you got. It was the smartest thing I've ever done in my life. After I booked it, they sent me to Harley school, Glendale Harley. I've never been on a motorcycle before. And you're learning on like these little bikes. And then all of a sudden, you know, we're Mayans, right? So we're not riding these dynas like the Sons of Anarchy are. We're on these massive machines with ape hangers. And it's part of our culture, part of our style. And, you know, when you put on that cut, it's just empowering. It just becomes this other beast. You can't help but feel like you're part of a club. When I see those billboards today, I think of my parents because when they watched the pilot, they, you know, called me up and said they were very proud and my dad said, you should be proud of yourself. You're a professional. So, I'm proud.